Good morning and welcome to the Vision Alignment Show. I hope you had a great weekend. We had lots going on here at my house, but we had an eventful weekend. Let's just leave it at that because there was a lot going on. So, we had fun. Anyway, so let's talk about what we have coming up this week on the Vision Alignment Show. We have great shows, great guests. Now, I'm going to tell you about them here at the end, but I want to make sure you stick with me till the end. And also, if you would, just welcome our next guest that's coming up, because this next guest coming up, he is phenomenal. And I can't tell you how well he knows his blind spots. He knows about his vision, and he knows where he's going. So without any further ado, I want to bring on Ricky Johnson. Hey, good morning, Ricky.
Good morning, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. This is awesome. So, Ricky, tell me, when is your first recollection of knowing your vision?
Brian, it was probably around 4 years ago. Just to make the long story short, I was going through a grieving process, and I share with the audience. It was in regards to my son's suicide. I felt lost. I felt like I didn't have any worth or purpose, and I was just confused. And it just kind of came to me, all the trauma and all the things that I'd went through and experienced and endured. I felt like God had been preparing me and conditioning me for something greater. And I started doing outreach on social media. And when I say outreach, I was very transparent and sharing my story, taking responsibility for everything that I had done. And I felt like that I was connecting with people through that. And I felt like that I was inspiring people just by being honest and being real. And by me being so transparent and sharing with the world everything that I had done, I felt like it was like I was making it safe for them to also admit to their faults and take responsibility. So it was probably about 4 years ago when I discovered my vision and felt like this is what I was called to do.
Wow. If you want to hear more, stay right there. Ricky, again, thank you so much for joining. So I want to encourage all the people that are out there listening to share this video out with as many people as you can think of. Share it on your timelines and do all that. So that would be phenomenal if you would. Also, put a picture of you winking in your timeline. And when you wink, I want you to be thinking about what makes you unique, because I know what makes me unique, and it's not my eye. What makes me unique is my positive personality and how I'm able to share my story with other people in order to have a lasting impact on their lives. So, I mean, that would be great if you would do that. You're going to be entered into a raffle to bring a free signed copy of my book. Sometimes it does take a brain surgeon, but thank you for that. So, Ricky, without any further ado, I want to get back to you and your story. So, you touched on a lot of stuff there. So, tell us more.
Sure, Brian. Well, first, I want to thank you for letting me be here today. And I'm going to share with you guys my story. I'm going to try to keep it from being too long. My name is Ricky Johnson. I'm 41. I work for an organization called Veteran Services of the Carolinas. We're a nonprofit, and our services are free. So what we do is we connect veterans and veteran family members with potential resources. Here on the East Coast, I'm the peer support specialist and the outreach coordinator. Guys, besides being a 5-year Marine veteran, I'm also a 3-time convicted felon for methamphetamine and DWIs. I spent some time in prison, homelessness. I lost both parents to substance use. My mother was 48. My dad was 52. They were both chronic alcoholics. I spent 5 years on felony probation. I paid to the state close to $16,000 in court costs and fines. A quote that I want to begin with today is, when you're not a coward, the climb is always going to be uphill. And for me, that resonates so much with my life, because my journey from where I started at to where I am now, it wasn't easy. And it took a lot of effort and dedication and commitment. Doing the things that we do that are the most beneficial, they're not always the most fun. It's discipline, it's routine, it's structure. Success and progress isn't always flashy. It's a glow. It's a steady stream, and that's been beneficial for my life throughout the process. Growing up, I really had no excuse to become who I was, but the truth is, I was exposed to substance use as a kid. I can remember my parents and my family let me taste alcohol as a young kid. And guys, I don't blame anybody or anything for the choices that I made. Everything that I was charged with and convicted of, I was 100% guilty of doing. But what we're exposed to can many times come out through our behaviors. And for me, I aspired to be that. Something that I left out about, one of my felonies, guys, for the past 25 years that I've been able to legally drive, I've not had a driver's license for 17 of those years. I proved to be very reckless behind the wheel of a vehicle. I'll get my license back in 2022. I lost them for 10 years, and I deserved that punishment. Something else, guys, when I was a child, I was also I was molested. I was sexually molested. I was violated by a family member, and that also impacted my life in a tremendous way. So I get to high school. I was a pretty well liked by my peers. I was athletic and I made good grades. The summer before my senior year, my son was born. I was 17 years old having a baby. I thought I was a man, and I had no clue as to who I was. I had no clue how to be a father. I needed some structure, some discipline, and guidance, and so I joined the Marine Corps. If you know anything about Marines, we're very extreme, very obsessive individuals. And for me, I was good in I was good at what I'd done. I was a refueler. Okay, I was never deployed. I never saw combat. The most intense combat that I ever faced was with myself. I already had this extreme personality, and add substance use into the mix. It was a perfect storm for me. That extreme obsessive personality almost killed me. But what the Marine Corps instilled into me was the ability to improvise, adapt, and overcome, and not give up. And that's probably what saved my life down the road. So I discharged from the Marine Corps. I'm also divorced twice. I got married young. I married my son's mother, and I was divorced. I got divorced along the way again. So I discharged from the Marine Corps. I was a young dad. I was immature. My intentions were good. I was planning on getting a job. I was going to be the father to my son that I didn't have. And guys, my biological father wasn't a bad man, but he was in and out of my life. The only dad that I ever knew was my stepdad, and he's a good man, and we're close to this day. If I told you that I discharged and got a job and made my son my priority, I'd be lying to you, okay? I dove headfirst into methamphetamine and alcohol and substance use. That was my priority. That took precedence over everything, including my son. I'll be honest with you. I got high in front of my son. I sold drugs in front of my son. I've drove under the influence with my son in the car. I let my son get high in front of me. And I know that sounds very twisted because it is. My way of thinking was I'm going to show him the wrong way how to do the right thing. And the truth is I had so much guilt and shame that I couldn't tell him no. And this time period is when my mother passed away. Like I said, she was a chronic alcoholic. I was a mama's boy. My mother's death devastated me, and I used her death as an excuse to stay intoxicated. Guys, I was not Ricky with the disease of addiction. I was Ricky that made bad choices, Ricky that paid for it. I paid an ultimate consequence for all these things. In this time period, like I said, I was catching drug charges, DWIs. I was in and out of jail. I went to prison. I wouldn't keep a job. I was a terrible example. I was a liar and I was a thief. And my stepdad got sick of my mess, and he said, "Listen, Ricky, I'm done with you. Figure it out." He said, "You won't be a father to Landon." He said, "You won't stop stealing and you won't stop lying." So I ended up homeless for a couple of years. And guys, when I say homeless, I mean I was couch surfing. I was in and out of treatment facilities. And this time period is when this transition began in my life, okay? I was living in a rescue mission. I had 3 changes of clothes in my name, and that was it. Guys, I done burned every bridge that I had. Every relationship that I had, I broke trust, and most everybody turned their back to me, and rightfully so. They had a reason to feel that way. Looking back, I don't blame them. None of us are entitled to forgiveness, and we're not entitled to respect. And that happened with me. So guys, this rescue mission, I'm not the most religious individual, but I believe in God and I'm spiritual, and I said a prayer. I said, God, if you get me out of pits of hell, I'll always get back to the next man. I'll never doubt you when things don't go my way. And I'll always give you credit when I'm blessed. And I stood on that prayer and I meant it. At this rescue mission is when I crossed paths with an angel. Okay. She's now my wife. My wife worked at an office down the street. We crossed paths. We just started communicating one day, and the rest is history. My wife saw something in me that I didn't know was there. She believed in me, and she took the time to listen to what I had to say, and that inspired me to commit to this transition. I'm married way out of my league. My wife's got 2 master's degrees, and I've got 3 felonies, so we kind of balance one another out. Meeting my wife changed everything for me. When I met her, she set boundaries. She set some boundaries with me. She said, "Listen, Ricky, all this crazy mess from your past, it's not going to fly with me. You're going to have to get a job. You're going to have to stay sober and respect me." And I needed that. Prior to meeting my wife, I didn't have morals. I didn't have values. I was promiscuous and I was reckless. My wife's the epitome of all those things. And I needed that in my life. I needed somebody to hold me accountable. Excuse me, guys. So guys, in this time period of my life, everything was taken off. I was gaining trust back in my family. I was using my GI Bill, going to college. I was making the dean's list. My son was watching me grow. My dad and I were getting close again. But guys, as you know, in life, when things are going smooth and falling into place, that is when something's going to come around the corner and test us, okay? It's easy to be positive and it's easy to keep progressing when everything's going our way. When things aren't going our way, that's what proves who we really are. And guys, remember that prayer that I said when I told God I'll never blame you when things don't go my way. I was tested in a very unfathomable way. To make the long story short, my son felt like he didn't have any worth or value. Okay, all the broken promises for me, all the lies I stole from him. My actions proved my words to be a lie, and it impacted my son's life. On December 12th, 2015, I get a phone call. My son went to a city park and he hung himself. He was 18 years old. He took his own life. And as you can imagine, it knocked the mess out of me. It devastated me. Every day I still wake up with a huge hole in my chest that never goes away. When I wake up in the mornings, I automatically wake up with a ton of guilt, a ton of grief. I wake up with 3 felonies. I wake up knowing that I can't drive today. So I have to stay on top of this every single day. I have to search for positivity every day. It could be going to the gym. Today it's talking with you guys. Peace does not just fall into my lap. I have to search for it through effort. So guys, with my son's death, do I blame myself for his suicide? Not necessarily. But did I contribute to his mental health? Absolutely. Okay. My son's death killed me, but it inspired me. It inspired me to be a better person. Okay. It holds me accountable every single day. As soon as I walk out of my house, I'm very aware of how my actions and words can impact another person. And I always remember that. It keeps me on my toes and it keeps me from getting complacent. So guys, this time period of my life, as I mentioned prior, is when I started doing outreach through social media. That's when I felt like I was called to do this, and it didn't happen overnight. And guys, something to keep in mind is I'm not the greatest speaker. I'm not the greatest at any one thing. But the thing about me is I'm always going to show up, okay? To inspire one another, we don't have to be a hero. Be who you say that you are. I knew how to do that. I knew how to be transparent, to persevere, and to be resilient. It doesn't take talent or a gift. It's keep getting back up, not giving up. I knew how to do that. I knew how to be present with people, and I knew how to listen. Guys, to be therapeutic, you don't have to be a therapist. Be willing to be present. Be willing to listen to somebody. At that time of my life, I didn't really understand it, but like I mentioned, that was God's way of conditioning me and preparing me to be a peer support specialist, what I am today. So fast forward a few years, or 3 years ago, my wife and I moved to Asheville, North Carolina. I came to Asheville with no driver's license, 3 felonies, and a horrible work history. I got invited to a Marine Corps League meeting, and this is how my career actually took off. I was at this Marine Corps League meeting, and they asked me to introduce myself. I don't hide anything. I'm very open. I don't like secrets. This is who I was. And guys, my past is what contributed to who I am today. So I embrace that as part of who I am. It's not going away. So I reflect a lot. So at this Marine Corps League meeting, I introduced myself. I said, this is who I used to be. This is who I am now. This is where I'm trying to get to. Guys, I've had this vision. I had this vision for a while, and I believed in what I was doing, but I didn't have a plan, and I didn't know how I was going to get there. At this Marine Corps League meeting, I was approached by a man named Brandon Wilson. Brandon is the director of our organization. He's been a mentor in my life. Without Brandon, I would not be here today. Brandon was the second in command of the entire VA of North Carolina. Well, Brandon approaches me, and he said, Ricky, what are you doing right now? And I explained to him that I was trying to get a job at the Outlet Mall. He said, is that what you want to do? And I said, not necessarily, but I've got to find a job. He said, I want you to come work for me. I want to hire you. And he said, have you ever heard of peer support? And I said, no, what's peer support? Guys, when he explained to me what peer support was, that is when I knew everything that I'd gone through. I knew at that very moment is where I was supposed to be on that day. I don't believe in luck or good fortune. I believe in preparation, meeting opportunity. And I believe we all have a talent or a gift, and others can see that in us. It's up to us to take advantage of those opportunities when somebody's willing to invest into us. And that's what I did with Brandon. Brandon said, here's the door. You got to walk through it. And I said, that's all I need. I need somebody to give me an opportunity. And I've not looked back. A year ago, I was blessed with an opportunity to speak on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. 6 months ago, I was appointed to a state committee by the North Carolina Speaker of the House, Mr. Tim Moore. And I'm a 3-time convicted fellow with no driver's license, okay? As I mentioned, nothing was handed to me. I busted my butt and been committed and dedicated to the life that I live now. So that's the quick version of my story. You guys can ask me any questions that you would like. You're not going to offend me.
Wow. Yeah. So anybody that has a question, please put them in the comment section, and we'll start with them from there. But had a few people on already that have indicated that they appreciate your service, and they love to hear about your story. It's hard to hear about your hardships. And then there's another guy that says Happy Monday, and so you may have gotten there the hard way, but you got there. Yeah, absolutely. So that's great. Great to hear. Wow, where to go with this? This is amazing. So, Ricky, thank you so much for sharing your story. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So while we're waiting for some questions to come in here, you mentioned positivity, and you finding positivity by going to the gym and other areas. What are some other ways you find positivity?
Doing things like this, it's easy to be negative. It's easy to do the wrong thing. Positivity takes work. It takes effort. Like I mentioned, I don't wake up every day, excited and feeling positive. I get up at 4 o'clock every morning. I reflect a lot. Like this morning, I got up reading, and a quote that stuck with me was, "To a coward, courage will always be viewed as stupidity." And that's something that resonated with me. So I find positivity in, giving my time. Anytime that I'm invited to speak somewhere, I show up. I don't care if it's to one person or 100. I'm always giving back, and that's just that's what keeps me going. And I feel called to do this. My career and my life happened organically. I didn't go pursuing it. Things happened, and I took advantage of those opportunities. So I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be at every single day.
That's great. So to a coward, courage will always be viewed as stupidity.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got a question here from Jill.
Yep.
She'd like to know how you got there and what happened. How did you become a felon?
Yes, Jill, thank you for the question. I've got 3 DWIs, driving under the influence. So that was one of my felonies. As I mentioned, for the past 25 years, I've not had a driver's license for 17 of those years. I deserved that punishment. My other 2 felonies were for methamphetamine, for drug possession. Prior life, I sold drugs. I wasn't some drug dealer that had a lot of money, and I would never glamorize that life. I was somebody who stole and sold drugs to support a habit. That's what it came down to. And I paid for it. So I have 2 felonies for drug possession charges.
Okay. And Ted respects you and finding ways to stay positive through all your hardships. So, wow, yeah, I don't know how anybody can hear your story and not be impacted. So,
and Brian, something I would like to mention also, guys. Anything I share with you, it is not. I don't want you to pity me. I mean, it's not for you to pat me on the back. I take full responsibility for everything I've done. I don't make excuses. I made bad choices. I don't blame anybody. So, like I said, the reason I'm so open and transparent is to give other people hope, and it's for a few reasons, to let them see, if you made a bad decision, you're not the first to do it. You're not going to be the last, but you can be one of the few to own it, learn from it, and be a better person for it. And by me being so open with who I am, it just lets people know that, they're not alone. They're not alone in making a bad decision. I've made many of them. So,
yeah. Jill goes on here. Dude, I commend you for the work you've done thus far, and I'm a drug and alcohol chef. A drug and alcohol chef. I have worked in recovery centers for the past 10 years, and so I commend you and know that you've gone through a good job. Gone through.
Thank you, Jill, for saying that. And Brian, also, I now collaborate with law enforcement. I'm a mentor in Veterans Treatment Court. When I say collaborate with law enforcement, I don't mean I tell on people or anything like that. I just share my perspective with them, and I've created a lot of relationships with law enforcement, with judges, with attorneys. I'm used to going into the courtroom shackled. Now I go in front of the courtroom advocating on behalf of another veteran or an individual who's going through the same things that I used to go through. It's a very surreal feeling knowing that the judge and attorneys, they, even in Raleigh, North Carolina, on the committee that I'm in, these people are way above my pay grade or anywhere I may ever be. And to think that they value my word and my perspective and experience, it's very surreal to me. I take it very serious. I mean, it's something that I take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, you should. So Capitol Hill, you spoke on Capitol Hill. What was that like?
Well, the organization that I worked for prior to coming to Jacksonville, I got to advocate on behalf of the citizens of Burke County on Capitol Hill. It was a very, I really can't describe it. I mean, honestly, I never in my life imagined being in Washington, D.C., getting to do something like that. I felt very humbled. I felt honored. It was just a very intimate moment for me. And it's funny you asked that, Brian, because I want to share this with you. I'm on a state committee, and I've been to Washington, D.C. What means more to me than that is I've been invited. I've spoke at the Brig on Camp Lejeune, speaking to the Marines that are locked up, that are getting kicked out. I spoke at a Marines memorial last month, a Marine who overdosed and died from fentanyl. Speaking at those events, that's the icing on the cake for me. Okay, that means more to me than Capitol Hill, because when I step in front of these young men and women that may be struggling, or at the Brig, or speaking at jails, I see myself in them. These, Raleigh, North Carolina can benefit the cause, but they can't relate to the people. They can't relate to the struggle of the people that I'm talking to. That usually they can't. So to be able to support somebody in that scenario based on my past and my experiences, that's why I do this. That's why I feel called to do this. So that's just to put it to perspective of who I am and why I do what I do.
Wow, that's great, and I love that. I love your spirit, your intentions, and how you said, just be who you are, and that I think is probably one of the most important things that you've said. Is no matter what, just be who you are and tell your own story, and let that have the effects. Don't worry about all the glamour and all that stuff. So, yeah, well, that's good. So you mentioned peer support, and that's really the one area you wanted to get to. But where do you want to get from here?
I put it like this. I believe before the year is over that I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. in some capacity. It could be, tomorrow. Or Wednesday. I have a presentation speaking over justice involved veterans. Veterans that are in the justice system. In some capacity, I believe within the year that I'm going to be advocating in Washington D.C. I don't know what it's going to be for, but I've Brian, through COVID-19, my career catapulted, and it was through the use of Zoom, social media, connecting with you, connecting with Mr. Gillums, people that I can benefit them and they can benefit me. And when COVID-19 happened, I saw an opportunity to capitalize. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times when adversity hits people, it levels the playing field. And I saw an opportunity. I saw an opportunity to rise up, and not give up and not fold under pressure. And adversity is what makes us grow. Discomfort. And I saw that, like I said, as an opportunity, and that's what I took advantage of it. Within where my career is headed, I really can't say. Like I said, everything happens organically for me. Any opportunity that I'm given, I accept it and I take advantage of it. And Brian, when I spoke at the Marines Memorial a few weeks ago, that was a 7-hour drive for me. My wife took 3 vacation days to drive me there to speak for 30 minutes. That's how much that meant to me. And that was one of the highlights of, it was a devastating moment, obviously, for the passing of that Marine, but to be invited to speak to that company of Marines, to be there to support them, that meant the world to me. I take it very, when it comes to my marriage, my reputation, my career, my sobriety, I take those things very serious, and I put a lot of effort into that. So, yeah.
Wow. That's phenomenal. A 7-hour drive.
Yes, it was in Johnson City, Tennessee. I'm in Jacksonville, North Carolina. It was about a 7-hour drive.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. This is great. It's not great, but it is great. It's a hard way of explaining this.
Sure.
It's great that you are able to tell your story, but it's not a great story.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
What do you do when people come at you with that? How does that make you feel?
I like I said, I feel called to do this. I'm never offended by questions. I knew from the beginning when I put myself out in the public so openly, there's going to be people to criticize me. I mean, I was told I wasn't going to make it. It's never going to work. Social media won't be effective. I got called meth head with muscles. I've been ridiculed the whole way. And the way I look at it is this: if you're not forcing change, if you're not, through my words, I know that a lot of times I force people to look at themselves in the mirror, and it's by my own experiences. I'm not here to shame anybody, but it makes people uncomfortable, and they're going to react a lot of times. If you're not being criticized and you're not pissing people off through trying to create change, then we're probably getting complacent. So
you're not creating change.
I expect that. I expected it all. It doesn't mean it feels good for somebody to talk bad to me, but I've grown through not reacting. I used to be a very reactive individual. Now I want to stay composed. I want to stay, not react and restrain myself. And my wife had to break that down to me before, because I would react to these situations. She's like, "Listen, Ricky, if you react to every single person that upsets you, you're going to come across as unpredictable." And she said, the people that's going to be able to benefit your life and influence you, they're not going to invest into you. And I took that to heart, and it benefited me.
What did she say again?
I used to be very reactive, through social media, or just I had this mindset of, I'm not going to let you disrespect me. And, I'd be very reactive to people. And did I have a right to feel that way? Probably. But the way she broke it down to me, she said, "Listen, Ricky, if you react to every single situation that frustrates you, you're going to come across as unpredictable." And she said, the people that may see something in you, they may be reluctant into investing their time in you because of that, because of the unpredictability. So I've learned and worked hard at restraining myself, keeping my mouth closed, because a quote that I live by is, when a man has lost control, he's at his weakest point. So I always remember that.
Wow. You got good quotes, man. Your wife is smart.
She's very, yeah. She's the I'm who I am. I'm the man that I am today because of her, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I learned to be a man through her.
So tell me again, when a man is emotional, he's at his weakest point.
When a man has lost control, he is at his weakest point. When we lose control, we can be very easily manipulated.
Yeah,
we're very reactive. So I try to always keep that in mind.
All right, I got it. Okay, thank you. So we got more comments coming in here. Wow, we've got lots of comments. So let me see here. Did we get them up yet? Oh yeah, Jill. She was. Oh, Ted Legal says one thing people need to understand is no matter how bad the mistakes you made in your past, it doesn't have to be your future. You can change, and there are people that will help you get there. Keep your chin up and believe you can change. And ask God to show you the way. Life is a learning experience. Learn from each mistake and move forward in a positive, loving way. Thank you very much for that, Ted. That was awesome. And then Mark Grant says, you and I are and will be contradictions. Growth is within us if we can acknowledge and let it out. Awesome. Okay, thanks for that, Mark. Appreciate it. And yeah. Ted is correcting me on what I was trying to say. I was trying to say it was a great story, but not a great story. It's a tough story with what did he say there? It's a hard story with a good outcome. So, and here's another one. Joey Betty. Here's a veterans link that will help you and locate drug and alcohol rehabs in their community. Could you please share a link that other veterans organizations? Please have them add my link below to their website resources page. I am offering this link for free in order to help save the lives of our veterans. Wow. Oh, that's awesome. So then next, here's the link. So, drugrehabus.org/rehabs/treatment/veterans. Awesome. Yeah. So I will leave that up there. And if there are any more comments, please put them in the comment section. Wow. Ricky, have you seen this website before?
I have not, but I will take it down though.
Okay. Well, I'll give you a few minutes to do that. I don't want to rush you, but this has been great. I appreciate your time this morning, Ricky.
Absolutely.
This is good stuff.
Something else I want to share before we end the conversation is, I spent 10 years in and out of active addiction. And the question that I'm asked often is, why did it take you so long to come out of it? And this is the way I try to frame it. And I frame it in this angle because we can all relate to this. It was a comfortable misery. And what I mean by comfortable misery is this. I see a comfortable misery often when I do community outreach, when I encounter homeless population. You can be in a marriage that you're miserable in. It could be in a job that you hate. I've seen it with individuals who have experienced an extended period of time of incarceration. The environment can be very toxic, but you get comfortable in it. Okay, when you spend a lot of time investing, and when you spend a lot of time creating these skills to help you to survive, you become good at it. Even if it's a very toxic environment, the thought of transitioning to something new, it can be very overwhelming. It's the fear of the unknown, and we doubt our abilities. So for me and for many other people, like I said, it could be in a toxic marriage that you know that you need to get out of this, but the thought of leaving it's scary. So that I think for me, that was I experienced a lot of that myself. I knew what I needed to do. And guys, we all know in our hearts and minds when we're doing too much of something or not enough. It just takes that courage and vulnerability to recognize it and take and apply something apply the change. I was probably lazy. Like I said, I was comfortable in that environment and it was easy to me. So the thought of getting sober, to finding new friends, to finding new ways to live, I wasn't willing to commit to it. So that's probably one of the reasons why that I spent so long in it.
So how can we help? How can we help people not feel get comfortable, get lazy or whatever? How do you do that?
I look at it like this, especially within recovery and within addiction, complacency kills. For me, I live with a little bit of fear. Fear to me is wisdom and common sense. I don't have any relapses left in me. If I take one drink, my career is over with, and I know that. I'm very aware of this. So I'm a very structured, routine, and disciplined guy. I stick to the plan that got me here. Within substance use, it's trial. It's the way I look at it is this: recovery is trial and error. It's trying to find what works for us without dying in the process. It's just, it's hard to predict. You can usually when somebody's behaviors are very destructive, you can usually see the outcome if they don't stop. So it's just different things work for different people.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Ricky. I really appreciate it. This has been phenomenal. If there are any other questions online, put in a hashtag replay, and we'll get the questions answered if they come in after we sign off. But again, thank you for your service, Ricky, and thank you for what you're doing.
Absolutely, Brian. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and asking me questions. I'm on Facebook as Ricky Johnson Jr. You can contact me at any time. I appreciate you. I appreciate you all.
All right. Oh, here's another new person. We've got a lot of people listening today. Thank you for your return of service. Your courage discipline journey is inspirational. Keep pressing forward. Yes, Dr. Patrice.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Really appreciate it. And I'm sure that our paths are going to cross again someday. So hopefully you'll come back on the show.
Absolutely.
Because you have been exceptional.
Brian, I appreciate it. You have a great day.
All right. Thanks. I'm going to put you in the green room, and I'll come back to you in a second here. And I'll close the show out.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Ricky.
All right.
All right. Bye. Wow. Oh my gosh, what that was incredible. So Mark Grant, very cool. Yeah. Incredible guest. So I'm not sure where to go with that, or not where to go from that. We've got more great guests coming up for tomorrow. Teresa is her first name, and I'm trying to think of her last name, and it's escaping me right now, but all good stuff coming. Tune in tomorrow at the same time, and then Wednesday and Thursday will be conversations with me, but then Friday we got some other good guests coming on. So look forward to that. I look forward to having you on, and I just appreciate you being on today. This has been phenomenal. What a great show. Thank you so much for all of this. And if there's ever anything that I can do for you, by all means, let me know. But as always,